Tonight on Guinness World Records Primetime, he's called the Snake Man. It's a Guinness World Record that will make you free. Will Jackie Bibby's bath be his last? Watch if you can. And from the Guinness Medical File, the shocking but true story of 23-year-old Christopher Wall.
There weren't any expectations except death.
Born with his heart outside his body, Christopher Wall is a medical miracle. It's a Guinness heart story you'll never forget. And on our stage, it's classic Guinness, combining balance and strength. Big John Evans takes on over 300 pounds of kegs in a breathtaking record attack. Also, returning Guinness record holder Mike Howard attaches himself to over 700 helium balloons in search of more Guinness glory.
Legs have gone numb a little. I'm going to have to do something drastic.
Witness what happens when a record goes wrong.
Trying to get away.
It's all over the place. Let me just fly, will you?
Plus, the most shocking record attempt yet.
People at home watch this don't think that I'm some kind of a freak.
One man, two needle-sharp spokes of steel. You may have to turn away when Master Giacobbe tries to pierce his way into the record book. It's real people, real danger, and real records. Do you think you're ready for Guinness Primetime? Los Angeles, the host of Guinness Primetime, Chris Collinsworth.
Good evening and welcome to Guinness World Records Primetime. We begin tonight with a record attempt that is not for the faint of heart. For most of us, the word rattlesnake sends shivers up our spine. The western diamondback is one of the world's deadliest. This snake accounts for more deaths than any other North American reptile. As terrifying as those images were, what you're about to see now is the stuff that nightmares are made of. Let's go to Mark Thompson in our Guinness studio.
I'm here with Jackie Bibby, a social worker from Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome, Jackie. Tell everybody what you're going to attempt tonight.
I'm going to get in that bathtub, and we've got about 50 rattlesnakes in this barrel over here. We're going to get the snakes out inside the pit, and then we're going to get as many as possible inside the bathtub with me.
Guys, why don't you start spreading the snakes out? And audience, I should tell you, we put up these protective barriers so that even if one of the snakes gets loose, it shouldn't be able to get to you. Now that rattle sound that they're making, that is what makes them rattle. They do that, is that a sign that they're going to attack?
It's a nervous reaction. It is indicating that the snakes are feeling aggressive. You know, that is a warning.
Prior to our show, our Guinness judges counted the number of snakes that you see right now. There are 48 western diamondback rattlesnakes on our stage. And to prove this is not a trick, we've asked Dr. Stephen Secor, he's a PhD in biology, to verify that the snakes are indeed poisonous. Doctor, you've done that. Have they been altered in any way?
No, they haven't. I checked them earlier. They're very active. They're very aggressive. And any one of these snakes could potentially provide a lethal bite.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome, Mark.
I want to emphasize that in the event something does go wrong, we do have emergency medical technicians standing by. Jackie, you're ready?
I'm ready.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Jackie told me that the snakes feel cool to the touch. He can sense them moving around him, but only when he sees their head can he get a sense of whether or not they might strike. Jackie's putting his life in the hands of those snake wranglers. He has to trust them to get him in and get him out safely. If they fail, Jackie could be bitten. And that could be fatal.
Get him out.
These snake handlers are trying to evaluate, apparently, what snakes are in what state of agitation. If they get excited, they can start fighting and biting each other. There is certainly a danger that they might inadvertently bite Jackie. So far, 10 snakes are in the tub with Jackie.
Yeah, there's one real deep up under me, but I think he's gonna be all right.
As Jackie's sitting there like that, these snakes are moving around him, similar to the way you'd find them moving in a den situation. And Jackie's going to be in that tub for quite a while. The key is that he doesn't move, because the movement is what can trigger the strike. The count is 22 deadly rattlesnakes in the tub with Jackie. They need to load these snakes in as quickly as they possibly can. What they're doing now is placing snake number 32 on Jackie's unprotected head, and this is Jackie's signature move. Jackie told me that they do this with a snake that's called cowed down. That's the position where the rattlesnake has his head tucked inside the coils. Of course, the snake can become uncoiled and bite Jackie in his neck or even his head. As the snake count continues to rise, all eyes are on Jackie's hands.
Bring me in, Doug.
We're looking for the signal that he'll indicate no more. That's snake number 35. Jackie says no more. The Guinness judges indicate 35 snakes in the tub. That's a new Guinness record. We're going to ask the audience not to applaud. Please, no movement in the studio. They have to get the snakes out of the tub, and that is actually arguably more difficult than getting them in to begin with.
Slow and easy, guys. Get that one off my head. Thank you.
They have to get each snake out now cleanly, taking extra care not to entangle it with another snake.
Just like pickup sticks.
Remember, any sudden movement could provoke a strike. They're going to have to pull some of those snakes out from under Jackie or even from behind Jackie. Those, I would think, would clearly be the most difficult maneuvers.
This one's in my lap's head's out.
Obviously, they're taking great care with this particular snake. They're trying to move Jackie forward because there's a snake wedged right in behind him. The snake's head is right under Jackie's pants. The cowboy hat is used to protect Jackie's head and spine from any possible strikes from a snake.
That's the last one?
Yes. A new Guinness World Record. Let's look at a replay of the snakes being put in the tub while you were there. These are the last two snakes that gave you the record. What is going through your mind now?
The main thing I was conscious of was the discomfort I was feeling because my legs were getting numb and tingly, but I couldn't move. You know, I can't move at all. So the snakes really were doing pretty well.
There were a couple of tense moments where they were going to put one in and then they had to remove it rapidly. Was there any point at which you felt you were in trouble?
There was one point there when one of the snakes did bite at another snake or one of the handlers. I couldn't tell exactly what he bit at, but I did see him strike. And luckily they had the presence of mind to take him back out.
Congratulations. Jackie Bibby, thank you so much. Thanks to your very capable crew. You gave us quite a thrill. Thank you, guys.
If you ever wondered why Mark is there and I'm here, now you know. Please, don't try that at home. We'll be back.
Coming up, Guinness record holder Mike Howard attaches himself to over 700 helium balloons. Witness what happens when a record goes wrong.
Trying to get away.
And 23-year-old Christopher Wall is a medical miracle. Born with his heart outside his body. It's a Guinness heart story you'll never forget. Plus, a record attempt not for the squeamers. Master Giacobbe will blow you away when he tries to pierce his way into the record book.
Welcome back. Mike Howard is a high-altitude junkie, hanging out where the air is so thin that you need oxygen tanks just to stay alive. On an earlier episode of this series, we showed you how he set a new Guinness record by walking on a 3-inch wide bar at almost 19,000 feet above the earth. But Mike Howard's latest high-altitude challenge is more bizarre, more radical, more dangerous than anything he has ever done before. It's 4 a.m. in California's high desert.
The plan is to tie 700 small helium balloons together and tie those to a chair, and I'm going to be sitting in the chair, and then we're going to try and set a Guinness World Record by riding the chair up to 18,000 feet.
Mike Howard is 32 years old, a recently married balloonist from Manchester, England. While the volunteers scramble, Crew Safety Chief Steve Davis meticulously packs a couple of parachutes.
Okay, Mike's ready to skydive if he needs to.
But that's just backup. Mike plans to land the chair, and to do this, he will have to cut away the balloons in an orderly fashion. The volunteers are veteran balloonists and off-duty Air Force personnel, but even they find this event risky. However, no one is more fearful than Mike's wife, Renee.
If something goes wrong right from the get-go, or if he's descending, there's a certain altitude that he comes to where there's no turning back, basically, and that's what really frightens me.
Despite the festive appearance of 700 red balloons, this feat couldn't be more dangerous. Rugged granite mountains surround the launch site, and if the winds sweep Mike into them, he'll be smashed into the jagged cliffs. To film this event, we have flown in this high-altitude llama, one of the only helicopters capable of reaching 18,000 feet. Once the balloons are stacked and fixed to a central point, they are attached to the chair.
The Guinness rule says it can be any chair with legs, so we decided to use a director's chair. We've taken out the back so there's more space in the back for my parachute so I can sit comfortably in the chair.
After months of planning, after hundreds of laborious man-hours, Mike Howard is ready to launch himself skyward. 0 minus 3, 2, 1. Nothing. The decision to launch brings a heart-stopping moment of truth. Mike hasn't got enough lift to get off the ground. In an effort to lose excess weight, they remove the chair from the rig. It's still not enough.
Wait 20 minutes.
The solution? More balloons. But it's 7 a.m. in the middle of nowhere. Yet Mike's crew and the exhausted volunteers rally. They scrounge up more balloons from convenience stores and wedding halls, even gather leftovers from a little girl's birthday party. Mike is reattached to the rig for a second attempt. With a final boost from his crew chief, he begins to rise. At 30 feet, he cuts the tether.
Mike, what's your story?
Mike Howard's fate is in the hands of nature and the rigging he's attached to. He is now hooked directly to the balloons. No one has ever done this before. We've equipped him with a special camera to capture the experience.
Let's have a look at the view, shall we? Lovely view.
I'm flying at about 300 feet per minute. I'm just coming up on 500 feet.
Two separate chase crews take off into the desert. They can only guess where Mike is headed.
He drifts west, he's going to drift back over the airport, and there's people there to pick him up.
I'm heading south, Steve, and I'm climbing.
Mike struggles desperately to reach 3,000 feet. Only then can he use his parachute.
Anything below it, and I would have to use my reserve, and the chance of it actually opening in time is fairly slim. What do we got? Coming up on 2.5. Still climbing. Still climbing.
At 2,500 feet, there is a problem. Mike has hit a temperature inversion, an invisible wall of cool air that he can't punch through.
Unfortunately, we're not going to get the altitude we need. You can see on the altimeter, 2,500.
As he drifts helplessly towards the mountains, any hope Mike had of reaching 3,000 feet has been dashed. His new priority is getting back in one piece. Stuck at 2,500 feet with no hope of going any higher, Mike realizes that his parachute is worthless.
This is not going to be a free fall because I didn't get enough altitude to do this safely. So we're going to land this, hopefully. Legs have gone numb a little. Make sure the pin is still in. Pin is still in.
There is an unforeseen problem. The smaller balloons have blocked the release lines. Using his survival knife, he begins frantically popping balloons in an effort to lose altitude. But the helium in the big balloons heats up as fast as he can pop the others, countering his efforts. Cutting across the sky at 30 miles an hour, Mike must land soon or he can be smashed into the granite cliffs.
The tops of those mountains, the highest peak on that mountain is 4,000 feet.
We're trying to cut balloons here and descend. It's not working.
Still drifting helplessly, Mike is lucky enough to have the winds blow him around the highest peak. But another danger looms in the distance, high voltage power lines. Mike must land before he reaches them. He radios the chopper for help.
Mike to Jeff.
Hey, Mike.
Mike Howard's record attempt is now an air-to-air rescue operation. Calling on all his skills as a pilot, Jeff Kane uses the downwash of his blades to hasten Mike's descent.
The helicopter's getting too close.
Mike is engulfed by the balloons and totally blind to his surroundings. Twisting uncontrollably, he can only hear the chopper hovering above him.
Trying to get away.
Mike, the helicopter's causing you a lot of grief. Get him away. Get the helicopter away. Get the helicopter away.
It's all over the place. Let me to fly, will you?
Okay, looks like you're stable now.
I'm descending now.
After his successful action, Jeff Kane pulls his helicopter back as the chase vehicles close in. Mike descends rapidly over the mountain ridge.
That's right, you're sliding off it.
As Renee races along the road, Steve talks Mike through the perilous descent. Unable to stop himself, Mike is dragged through the rocks and cactus until he finally manages to cut away half of the balloons.
Yeah, we're almost right underneath you. We're coming at you.
He comes to rest on the desert floor with nothing more than a bruised ego.
I saw this cliff face, and I didn't want to land on the cliff, because that could have been nasty. So as I was coming down, I was bunny hopping over all these big boulders. Unfortunately, the balloon just sat at like 2,200 feet. And it would go up, and then it would come down.
Mike Howard is not accustomed to failure.
Yeah, very disappointed. Obviously very disappointed. Don't like to fail. But perhaps we'll give this another go.
Disappointed perhaps, but lucky to be alive. There will be no new record for Mike. His dream of glory has been blown away by the desert wind. Mike assures us this can be done and that he will try this again. We'll be right back.
Still ahead, from the Guinness medical files, the shocking but true story of 23-year-old Christopher Wall, born with his heart outside his body. It's a Guinness story you'll never forget. Plus, you may have to turn away when you see Master Giacobbe try to pierce his way into the record book. Advised.
Welcome back. Christopher Wall is a marvel in both medical history and the Guinness Book of Records. Why? Chris was born with his heart sticking straight up outside of his body. Now, no one had ever survived with this condition for more than 48 hours, but amazingly, Chris did. And at age 23, he holds the Guinness record as the longest living person with their heart beating outside their chest. Christopher Wall is known in Philadelphia as the mayor of South Street.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
What makes Christopher so special? It's not the things he does or the way that he lives his life. It's the fact that Christopher is alive at all. On August 10th, 1975, 20-year-old Teresa Wall and her husband were excitedly expecting their first child. But in the delivery room, joy turned to horror.
When Christopher was born, it was like this cloud of doom, this like darkness that just came over the room. Everything just got really quiet. And the doctor just looked up at me and he said, you know, something's wrong with your son.
Doctors wouldn't even show Teresa her baby. No one was prepared for what they saw. Christopher's tiny heart was beating literally outside his chest. Of the 200 reported cases of this rare and deadly disorder, no baby had ever survived for more than 2 days.
They put him in the corner of the nursery and basically just expected him to die.
There weren't any expectations except death.
But Christopher was a fighter. He survived the first few critical hours after birth. Doctors rushed him into surgery and performed a never-before-attempted operation to put Christopher's heart back inside his chest.
When the heart would beat, it would tip back and forth, almost striking him in his chin with each heartbeat.
On the operating room table, Christopher's heart stopped beating 6 times. His chest cavity was too small for the heart. Out of desperation, doctors made an incision, stretched a flap of skin across the heart, and stitched it up.
I'm looking at him and feeling bad. I mean, his chest looks like a tractor trailer ran over it.
Barely clinging to life, Christopher defied the odds and made it through the first 3 days. Unable to breathe on his own, a ventilator was sewn into his body. Sadly, Christopher remained hospitalized for the next 3 years. Doctors didn't think he'd live, let alone ever go home. But on August 8, 1978, hooked up to a respirator, he reached the next landmark in his record-setting life. He went home.
When he came home from the hospital, he was 3 years old, but he was like an infant. You know, he still couldn't walk or anything.
If he had any hope of living a full life, doctors would have to devise a way to protect his heart. His tiny body underwent more than 21 unsuccessful operations to build an artificial breastbone. Doctors finally decided to leave his heart where it was, beating outside his chest.
He wanted to be normal. He wanted to be like every other child.
When he turned 6, an operation freed him from the portable respirator, and doctors built a hard plastic vest to shield his heart. And there was no stopping him. He did the things his parents had always dreamed of. His life was a record book, and he was writing new chapters every day. Christopher is committed to letting others know that despite the problems with his hearing and speech, the heart that makes him so different also makes him the same.
If I put my hand in, you could feel it. You could feel what it is. I could beep, 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 beep.
Christopher never goes anywhere without his chest protector. The risks are just too great.
Like I go out, I have to leave it on. Cause somebody gonna hit me. If they can hit me, I'm gonna die for that.
The threat of death does not rule his life. Full contact basketball is one of his passions.
I wasn't really aware of his medical condition until maybe I think he was 20 years old. He showed me a scrapbook. After I saw that scrapbook, yeah, I was like, we're not going to play competitive basketball anymore. I don't want to knock him over. But I realized I've knocked him over before, or he's knocked me over before, so he's absolutely fine.
Turning 21 is a milestone for anyone. For Christopher, it was even more special. It marked the 7,665th day of his record-setting life, an amazing achievement for someone who should have died at birth.
All through his life, he's always had so many people around him, showing him nothing but love and kindness and generosity. So he grew up giving that back. Baby doctors make history. Baby improving.
Christopher Wall's life is more than just a scrapbook of memories. It's a time capsule of how love and determination rewrote medical history. Despite the fact that Christopher was born to die, he never gave up. He overcame every obstacle he faced, and he proved he had the heart and soul of a champion. Together, Christopher and his mother, Teresa, have shared a special journey down a path no one has ever traveled. Chris sets a new record with every beat of his heart. Over 850 million and still counting. We'll be right back.
Still ahead, it's Classic Guinness. Big John Evans takes on over 300 pounds of kegs in a breathtaking record attempt. Plus, it's a record not for the squeamish. You may have to turn away when Master Giacobbe tries to pierce his way into the record book. But first, another question from the pages of Guinness. According to Guinness, who is the oldest movie star to have fathered a child? Is it A, Charlie Chaplin, B, Tony Randall, or C, Anthony Quinn? The answer when we return to Guinness Primetime. Guinness, who is the oldest movie star to have fathered a child? You might have thought it was A, Charlie Chaplin, who was 73 when he became a dad. Tony Randall was 77. The answer is C, Anthony Quinn, who was 81 when he fathered his most recent child. The Mexican-born Quinn, who won 2 Academy Awards, has fathered 13 children by 5 different women. 2 of them were wives. In fact, Quinn doesn't just come in first, he comes in second, too. His son Brian was born when he was 81, and his daughter Antonia when he was 78. The mother of both is his former secretary, 36-year-old Kathy Benvin.
When it comes to amazing feats of strength and balance, few can top Big John Evans. Big John is a 16-time Guinness record holder for balancing some of the heaviest and strangest objects imaginable on his head. And tonight he's going for number 17. Big John is in our Guinness studio with Mark Thompson.
I'm here with Big John Evans, a bricklayer from Derbyshire, England. And John, you're going to do something so big that we couldn't do it on our Guinness stage.
That's right.
John, you were going to balance 10 beer kegs weighing over 300 pounds on your head.
That's right.
Earlier, though, John, you attempted this, and let's show everybody why we couldn't do it with our audience seated here. John, those kegs hit extremely hard. If it was here in the studio, one of our audience members could have been killed, frankly.
That's right.
So something bigger is going to happen, but we're going to do it in our backstage area. What are you going to attempt next?
I'm going to go straight away for 11.
Let's go backstage now and set a new Guinness record. These are real kegs, and they're not attached, are they, John?
Nope.
And you're going to balance that all on your head?
That's what I'm going to attempt, yeah.
Now, you have a hat or something that you wear?
I've got this special bit of equipment here. That's about 30 years old, and it just goes on my head, and that's all I need. Just a dirty old hat.
Does it give you a headache over time?
No, no. It just gets short. My neck's gone into my body a bit and made this bit of surplus here.
It just compacted you over time.
I used to have a long neck. It's gone here now.
You were telling me you had a 23-inch neck?
I got a 23-inch neck, yeah.
You'll need every bit of that neck here today.
Every bit.
Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. These are ordinary beer kegs. Each one weighs approximately 30 pounds apiece. They weigh approximately 339 pounds. John gets under the kegs and places them on his head. To qualify as a Guinness record, John must keep them balanced for 10 full seconds, and at no time can his hands touch the kegs or the plywood platform. Our Guinness judges are going to start the clock once John begins balancing the kegs. Are you ready, Big John?
I'm ready.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
weight, 339 pounds. Not only is the weight something that John's going to have to deal with, but he has to balance, as he was explaining to me, 2 columns. Each one of those columns is a separate column that he has to balance on his head. And the center keg at the top, he hopes that'll have enough weight to, in essence, hold the 2 together and make it more manageable.
I'm going for it in a second, sir.
The atmosphere here is a mixture of anticipation and tension. Remember, John's hands have to be free of the plywood. It's not only all the weight, he has to balance all of those kegs that are unattached. You can see them swaying just a little bit. I'm not sure if he actually broke the record or not, although it was a thrill. Let's take a look at it again while the judges tell us. Okay, the judges have now confirmed that he did not make the full 10 seconds. John, do you have a sense for what happened?
I can never see what it looks like because I'm underneath it, but looking at it now, it looks like the whole thing is coming apart, and I'm doing extremely well to keep the thing together as long as I have done.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty remarkable, 9.5 seconds. And of course, they stopped the clock when your hand touched that bottom piece of plywood.
Yeah.
Are you ready to give it another shot?
Oh, of course, yeah.
You want to see John try it?
Yeah!
Here it is, 11 kegs, 339 pounds. Let's see if he can break that Guinness World Record on this attempt.
Remember, we're talking about 339 pounds worth of weight here. It's all pressing down on Big John's neck. Look at the concentration in his eyes. He has to make sure it's exactly right, so that when he lifts it off, that platform and the kegs are perfectly balanced the way he wants them.
Yo, come on.
Well, he's got a new Guinness World Record now. He's going for more. He's had the kegs on his head for more than 10 seconds. What an amazing feat this is. He's not only broken the record, he shattered it. He had it up there for almost 20 seconds. Congratulations, Big John. A new Guinness World Record. What a job you did. 11 kegs, 339 pounds, a new Guinness World Record. How did that feel all the way? Did you know you had it?
Straight away.
Straight away.
Sometimes failure's good.
Sometimes failure is good. Let's take a look at that again. That's when the count started, the minute your hands left the plywood. None of the problems that you had in the last attempt.
No. No.
You seem to have none of the balance problems. In fact, you were kind of playing around at the end.
I'm the best bouncer in the world.
Well, you'll get no arguments on that today. What a thrill. Big John Evans.
Thank you, everybody.
A Guinness record holder.
I've got a theory on who actually emptied those 11 kegs with Big John. We'll be back.
Up next, the most shocking record attempt yet. You may have to turn away when Master Giacobbe tries to pierce his way into the record book.
3,000 2,000 years ago, East Asian warriors developed a philosophy called Tung Soo Do. We know it now as mind over matter. It allowed those gladiators to withstand tremendous pain and injury while their opponents succumbed to death. Tonight, in our Guinness studio, a disciple of that ancient philosophy will attempt to put his name in the record book. Now, I warn you, what you're about to see is extremely graphic. Let's go to Mark Thompson.
I'm here with Master Dominic Giacobi, a 7th degree black belt in Tung Soo Do. Before we describe what you're about to see tonight, we've all heard the expression mind over matter. Tell us exactly what that means.
It's actually taking the body beyond its potential, using the mind to focus and go beyond our expectations.
Master Giacobi will now mentally prepare himself for what he will endure. And as you do that, let me explain what he'll be attempting. These are two 8-inch steel motorcycle spokes. They've been modified so that the tips of both ends are needle point sharp. Both of Master Giacobi's forearms will be pierced by the spokes. Each one will go completely through the skin. If all goes well, they will draw no blood. Then he will suspend two 10-pound buckets filled with water from each of these spokes. Next, he will attempt to stand on these 18-inch razor-sharp daggers. Again, if all goes well, no blood. And finally, a 60-pound weight will be suspended in a harness which will be held between the master's clenched teeth. Once again, I remind you, what you're about to see is very graphic. Don't try this at home. Master Giacobi, the stage is yours.
Now, Master Giacobi is doing what is called a yung, or form. He explained to me that this is to help develop a oneness between his mind, body, and spirit. He's now sitting on the floor, and he's going to cleanse his mind to a state of what he calls nothingness. We're asking the audience to maintain their silence so that he can keep his focus. Master Giacobi's rubbing that spoke through his hair now to prevent infection. He will now attempt to put that 8-inch steel spoke completely through his arm. He told me that as he pierces his arm, he does not feel any pain at all. Through his mind, he says he's able to take the chi and turn the pain section off, not feel any pain at all. The spokes through his arms, does that without any bleeding. Now, he says that he can do this because of the meditation, slowing his metabolism down. The needles are through his arms and no blood. And now that the spokes are through his arms, they're bringing in the buckets of water to hang from those spokes. Remember, Master Giacobi says the pain is eliminated just by focusing on relaxing. He says he really doesn't feel the weight at all. Those are two razor-sharp daggers he will attempt to put his total body weight on. When he stands on the sword, again, Master Giacobi says he feels no pain. He feels the blade of the sword, but because he's relaxed, he no longer feels the pain associated with it. Once he's in that state of mind, Master Giacobi says he can stay on the sword as long as he wants. Now, Master Giacobi is going to attempt to suspend that 60-pound barbell from his teeth. The intensity in the studio right now is unbelievable.
tells us that one part of him has to relax to do this. The other part of him, of course, has to hold up the weight in his teeth. This is all a reflection of the power of the mind, says Master Jacoby. I can't believe what we just witnessed. No cuts on his feet, no blood. Now Master Jacoby must remove the spokes from his arms. When the spoke is removed, Master Jacoby must still remain very calm and focused. He says his metabolism slows down to the point that when the spoke is taken out, there will be no bleeding. You can see the holes, but no blood. Master Jacoby wants to make clear to people looking in that he's not some sort of freak or abnormal person. This is all in service of the strength of the mind. And that's what this exercise is about.
We should reiterate, what we've just seen here was not a magic trick of any sort. Let's look at the moment that the spokes pierced through your arms. And again, we should say, don't try this at home.
Yes, this took many years. I learned from some great Oriental masters, and I traveled to the Orient. And when I learned this technique, I studied for 7 years. A lot of meditation, and you know, the exercise is important also. That helps become oneness between mind and spirit.
The holes you could actually, as they were pulled away and the spokes were being pulled out, you could actually see through. I mean, the holes was obviously completely punctured, but there was no blood.
You change from that physical self as you know yourself as to where you have a lot of confidence in yourself that you can do this.
Congratulations, Master Jacoby. Your name will now go in the Guinness Book as the Mind Warrior. Ladies and gentlemen, Master Jacoby.
In our studio, Jackie Bibby of Fort Worth, Texas, set a new record by sitting in a bathtub filled with 35 deadly rattlesnakes. And from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we brought you the remarkable story of 23-year-old Christopher Wall, the Guinness record holder for the longest living person born with his heart outside his body. Big John Evans of Derbyshire, England, balanced 11 kegs weighing 339 pounds on his head for a new Guinness record. And from Clementon, New Jersey, Master Dominic Giacobbe goes into the record book as the Mind Warrior with an awesome display of mind over matter. If you want to break or set a record here on Guinness Primetime, we want to hear from you. Give us a call at 1-888-751-8088 or visit our website at www.guinnessrecords.com.
Here are some of the record attempts you'll be seeing on future episodes of Guinness World Records Primetime.
He's a black belt master, and now he's going to try to break into the record book. Can Cliff Lanoy withstand the pain and become the concrete man? Plus, from the Guinness medical files, the first virtual human, from cadaver to computer. Scientists slice up a human body to get a 3D view of our anatomy from the inside out.
Tonight you witnessed some amazing people make Guinness history. My thanks to all of them. For everyone here at Guinness Prime Time, I'm Chris Collinsworth. Good night, everybody.